All right, so now we go to the third film, and I got to tell you, I think this one is roughly tied with the second one. This one I'd have to give around a 9.5 or at least close to a 9.5. I'm talking like 9.3, 9.4. Letter wise, it gets an A. That's for true. Let's see. So here are the ratings on the film. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 40%. Mm-mm-mm. Letterboxd 52. Internet Movie Database 61. And Google users 76 to 81. Now, what is the budget on the film was 40 million and the box office was nearly 113 million. Again, I guess not a bad ratio for that time. I mean, the movie came out in 2008, so I guess that's okay for that. If you want to watch the movie, it's free to watch on Roku. Um, I'll tell you one thing. I had watched the first two movies on Hulu. They just took them off. But I know one thing. As of right now, I will be buying all three movies on YouTube eventually. And then I got to check the fourth one, which is the remake, Refueled. I've heard nobody talk about that, so I'm assuming that Rotten Tomatoes and the others are going to have lower ratings on that. But I'll get to that in another video once I watch it. So, Frank Martin's latest assignment pairs him with Valentina, the cynical daughter of a Ukrainian official. While her father ponders what to do with 3 boatloads of toxic waste, Frank must guard the problematic woman and prevent her from wandering too far from his vehicle or risk triggering the explosive shackles they both wear. I'm telling you, this was quite a movie. I mean, you're talking about explosive action. The fight scene on the train was amazing. The scene with, and again, this reminds me of when people sit there and say that you talk about a lot of other action films like Fast and Furious and say, "Oh, they're too unrealistic." I don't see what's realistic about driving a car on the train, especially the way they did it. But hey, you know what? I don't care because it was entertaining and it was great action and it was very fun to watch. So Common Sense Media gave this film a 40%, which I think is the same rating they gave the second film. And the adults and kids each gave it 60%. So with the last two films, they both gave it 80%. So they weren't quite as nice on this film. But hey, like I said, to each opinion. Uh, Everybody has an opinion, to each his own. So here's how Common Sense Media breaks it down. Professional transporter Frank Martin is out of business, and enjoying his retirement when adventure literally comes crashing into his home in the form of a car driven by the friend Frank recommended for a job he passed up. Soon, he finds himself the replacement driver, taking passenger Valentina across Europe at the behest of heavily armed, deeply criminal men who've strapped Frank and Valentina with explosive bracelets that will detonate if they get too far from the car. She's the daughter of a European minister preventing the docking and offloading of ships loaded with illegal toxic waste. Her kidnapping is the leverage the villains intend to use to get their boats unloaded. Can Frank escape the clutches of the bad guys alive while rescuing the girl? Well, this is an older movie, so don't worry about spoiler alert. So the answer is yes. Yes, they did that. Now, like I said, I'm assuming most of my action thriller fans had seen the Transporter movies, but if you haven't, and if you're a fan of Jason Statham, and you're a fan of fistfights and high speed chases and explosions and gunplay, if you haven't seen this, you're missing out. This is definitely a series to get into. Now, is it any good? It already starts off interesting, so let me just say this. They said, while the first two films were good, dumb fun, the third film is critically wounded by what may be one of the worst performances ever committed to film. Rudakova's work as Valentina, that's Natalya Rudakova, who plays Valentina in there, perilously wooden and amazing shallow Rudakova provides purely unintentional comedy as she delivers badly written lines in halting, fractured English while pouting, preening, and posing her way through the film. This film is built on a seemingly solid foundation of Star Statham's abdominal muscles, martial arts action, and adrenaline fueled stunt driving. It's a shame because Jason Statham has still has everything you could ask for in an action lead: guts, grit, grace under pressure, and bad guy Mr. Johnson, Robert Knepper from Prison Break, is suitably silken and wicked. Kudos should also go to the series fight choreographer Corey Ewan, a master of close, intense, superbly crafted martial arts action. Still, you can feel that this is a shabby, quickly made sequel. Hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding exactly what that means. The first movie was '02, the second one was '05, third one was '08, but I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. The story makes no sense, but then again, these films have always been more about speed and splashy action rather than plot or logic. Director Olivier Megaton puts all the pieces together, but with Rudakova so stiff and shabby in her portrayal of a shallow, spoiled brat, you literally don't care whether she escapes with her life. I mean, it depends on who you ask. I mean, I was hoping she'd survive, and she did, and I was like, okay, good. The Transporter films have always been guilty pleasures, but the third installment is such a diluted, dull repetition that you'll feel the guilt much, much more than any pleasure. I don't know. And again, I gotta be honest with you. This is one thing that I can own about myself completely, and I have no shame in saying it. In this particular case, with me, it was definitely more pleasure than it was guilt. Because I guess I'm just one of those mindless movie watchers. You put together now. Granted, to be fair, I do want a plot to make sense. I get their take that they're saying that this wasn't quite as good as well. Let me rephrase that. They're straight up saying this is nowhere near the first and second film. But as long as the plot generally makes sense as a whole, like you get the gist of it, and they do a bunch of scenes that just grab the attention, to me, that's a good movie, regardless of the genre. But I mean, in this particular case, we're talking action, and I say, yeah, I give this film a 9.5, and I'd gladly watch it again in the future. Um, so that's all Common Sense Media had to say about that. And if they thought this film was that poor, then I don't even know if I want to know what they got to say about Refueled. So give me a list of, or put in the comment section other movies and shows that I should check out, that I should discuss on here, and I'll give you my take on it. So I had somebody drop down a number of shows and movies I should check out. I'll get to them as well. But like I said, Transporter series, hey, great so far. And I've added it to my list of favorite action thriller film series. I did that after I saw the first film. Again, I kicked myself for not having seen these films earlier, but to be fair, some of these films came out either when I was too young to care about it or simply before I was born. So other than that, that's my take on the film. It was a wild ride, and help me out. Help me reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, all those links to my profiles are in my About section. So that's it for now. Stay tuned.